StraightallDay.com.
Seduction is a business skill. Now, first of all, let's get clear on what the word seduction actually means, because I know that many people socially, we tend to associate seduction with dating, sex, intimacy. Definition of seduction is attractive, offering, or tempting. So yes, this could definitely and definitely does appeal to or apply to dating, intimacy, etc. But it also applies to anything that you're doing where you're looking to draw people in, to lure them into your world. That is what seduction is really about. And today I'm going to explain to you why being seductive is not just about dating. It is not just about sex. It will help you advance in your career and in your business. I'm going to explain to you exactly why and how. Point number one, today's topic again is seduction is a business skill. Number one, every sale is a courtship. Every sale that you make, when someone buys something from you, there is a courtship process that has occurred or that must occur in order for that sale to consummate. And some courtship processes are shorter than others, but there is always a courtship process. So it's not just about you showing someone your product, them immediately loving it and throwing money down on the table. If that happens, I suggest you pick up the money and you make that sale. But usually when that happens, it's because the courtship has already happened. The courtship happened before that. They showed up and it seems like a quick, easy thing, but they already did all the courting process before they happened to get in front of you. And maybe you had something to do with it. So the first thing you have to do is get a person's attention. Think about when you're dating a person. If you are in a long-term relationship right now, you're married or you have a long-term boyfriend or girlfriend or guy or girl, first of all, someone had to get somebody else's attention. Then on some level, you must stir desire within that person. In other words, just because you got somebody's attention does not mean they're immediately going to like you. They may think that you're cute. They may think that you're pretty. They may be attracted to you in some way. There may be something about you that they like. However, that doesn't mean that they actually want you at that point. All right. How many of you ladies have ever seen a man and said, that man looks good, but that didn't make you want him just because he looked good? How many of you guys have ever seen a girl and she looked good and it didn't make you want her because she looked good? That's a trickier question to ask a man, but you'll still get the direction of my point. You have to stir desire within a person. In other words, you have to show them enough about you that matters to them to make them want to come in closer and come further into your world, which is all part of the courtship process. It's the same thing that you do in selling. Okay, you know about the gym. I've been a salesperson at many gyms. So you know about the gym and you know that a gym is a place where you go to work out. You know, that's pretty much what we do here. But that doesn't mean that they're going to buy the membership. Now they want to check out the gym. They want to see what the gym is like. They want to get a feel for who the clientele is. Who else is in this gym? Does it have all the equipment I need? What are the hours of the gym? How much does it cost to be a member of this gym? Do I feel like I can use this gym? Does it make sense coming from my house to my job to coming to this gym? Does it make sense to travel plans and how much it's going to cost? Does it fit into my budget? All of these things are part of stirring the desire within that person. Does it match up with what they need and what they're looking for? Of course, you are presenting yourself in some way to stir up the desire. You're presenting what you offer, what you have, how it works. This is the process of, again, courting and dating with a person. You learn more about them. You learn what their habits are. You learn more about their background. You learn how they respond to certain things. And that's all part of the presentation process. Then is, of course, your offering. Who are you? What are you offering? Because they are courting you the same way that you are courting them. When you're in sales, depending on what you're selling and how you're selling it, you may be doing more or less courting than others. In certain type of businesses, certain products and services being offered, there is an evaluation process that the salesperson is doing just as much as the customer or prospect is doing. I talked about this in an episode of this show where I told you that you always want to be the buyer. Let me refer you to that episode. That was episode number 3045, always be the buyer. That's the evaluation process that you are doing, even though you're the one who's actually asking for the money. You make a proposition, you tell them, okay, here's how it works here in this gym. Here's how our consulting program works. Here's how it works to, if you want this car, you make them a proposition. Okay, here's the offer. It's going to cost you this much. You put this much money down. You pay this much every month or whatever the proposition is. Then if you made a good enough presentation, now they just decide, do they want to step into your world or do they not? So selling, just as in dating, it happens, the actual process of the sale consummating, meaning the person actually wanting to buy. This happens when your prospect feels that they are wanted, i.e. you want to sell them, you are paying them attention, you're listening to what they say, you are noting their needs and desires, and your product has been shown to be able to solve their problems. So they feel wanted, they feel recognized, and they feel understood. So if you take those three pieces into account, if you want another person to feel wanted, recognized, and understood, what do you need to spend most of your time doing? This is a trivia question, especially for those of you who sell anything that is high ticket. You're selling things where you're asking your prospect or customer to invest in the thousands of dollars and up in what they're doing. What's the one thing you need to do to make people feel wanted, recognized, and understood? Understand this answer is the same in sales and business as it is in dating and relationships. The answer is listening, not talking, listening. When you are good at listening, another person feels wanted because you are simply paying attention to them. And human beings, we have this limitation where we can only pay attention to one thing at a time. So when you are giving your attention to another person, they feel wanted because they understand unconsciously that you can't be giving that attention to anything else at the same time as you're giving it to them. Recognized, meaning you're actively listening. So you're not just hearing the words, but you're actively engaged in what they are saying to you. And if you're really good at listening and you're a really good communicator, not only are you understanding what this person is saying, you're able to communicate back to them in your own words what they are saying to you, which shows that you're really understanding them and really engaged with what they are giving you. When you're really good at doing these three things, making people feel wanted, recognized, and understood, all through the skill, the communication skill of listening, this is a huge part of seduction. And a lot of people incorrectly think that seduction is about you just being this extroverted person that puts yourself out there so much and you say all the perfect things and you show all the perfect things and you make people want you because you're showing them so much that makes you look so amazing. That is not what seduction is about. Seduction is more about what you receive from the other person and them actively knowing that you are actively receiving it. That's seduction. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is seduction is a business skill. Number 2, people buy energy more than they buy products. Even if they're buying a product that is sitting on a shelf in Target, they are buying the energy of that product, i.e. how they will feel if and when they use that product, or how their kids are going to feel, or how grandma's going to feel when they use this product, or when they receive or get the gift that you're going to give them. People are buying energy much more than they're buying a product or a service. The product just represents the energy. There's a reason why I saw a friend of mine the other day on social media had posted a video clip of her being at a Beyonce concert. Why do you go to a Beyonce concert? Why do you go to a Taylor Swift concert or a Drake concert or a Gavin DeGraw concert or whoever else, whatever artist you like? Why do you go to their concert? Usually you already know all the music, because if you didn't know the artist, you probably wouldn't be going to their concert. So you already know the music. You already know the songs. Whatever song they perform, you probably know all the words to. You could sing the song without having to go look at them in person. You could sing the song without the music even playing because you know it so well. You listen to it so many times. You know you like the person, but why go to the concert? Why travel to the venue, pay X number of dollars for a ticket, sit there amongst another 10 or 20,000 people, maybe get bumped into by other folks and have to deal with whatever other people are doing who you have no control over, and stand up and dance and sing along to some loud music that you already know, you already listened to thousands of times. Why do it? Because the energy that you get from being in the same room as that person whose music you like. It's the same reason people go to sporting events. Not because you can't watch it on TV. It would be cheaper and faster to watch the event on TV. So why do people go to the event? People go to the event because of the energy of being in the same room as the people that they otherwise would be watching on TV. Proximity is power, and proximity has a cost. Proximity has a price tag. What does this mean for all of you? Is that if you put yourself in a position where being around you and you are able to market and present and position yourself in such a way that being around you actually has a value, then you can put a price on proximity. The closer someone gets to you, the more they pay. For example, if you were to go to a conference of someone who's an influencer and they have a conference at a big venue, say someone has a conference at some convention center, how much are the tickets? Well, everybody knows the answer. It depends. How close to the stage do you want to sit? If you're all the way up in the nosebleed seats, then the tickets are a certain price. But if you get the closer and closer you get to where the action is actually happening, the higher the tickets cost. Everyone understands this without even having to explain it. Just the other day, from when I'm recording this, I took my son to this event called the Monster Jam. So there are these monster trucks, and this is a whole industry, and there's a whole career and business around this stuff. These guys and girls who drive these really big trucks with the big wheels through these dirt. It's like this dirt pit that they have, and then they have a big ramp of dirt, and they drive up the ramp and they flip the cars around and stand the cars up on the wheels and spin them around and all kinds of stuff that is very interesting to the kids. It's a very family-friendly type of event. And when I went to this venue, guess what? The closer you were to the action, the higher the ticket costs. Everyone understands generally how this works. Front row seats to the Knicks game cost a lot more than nosebleed seats at the Knicks game. Why? Because the closer you get to the action, the more energy you will feel from being as close as you are, and that has a price tag. So while all of you, of course, should be selling high quality products and services that do everything you say they will do, and they need to be worth more than what you charge for them. That's the only way you'll sell anything. Understand that the energy with which a product is shared and the energy of the person doing the sharing all play a huge role in whether or not a sale occurs. And the energy of the energy that people receive your offering with. All of that plays a role. The energy that you think you're going to feel from getting this product or this service or whatever it is plays a role in whether or not you buy it and how much you're willing to pay for it. The same as in dating. A really attractive man or woman, and attraction is relative. So a person who's really attractive to you, if upon further inspection you find out that this person has the wrong type of energy, you may end up turning them down, even though on the surface physically they look good. Has any of you ever done this? Men, you ever dated a woman who was physically attractive? Like, man, this is one of the prettiest girls I've ever seen. She was very beautiful to you, but upon further inspection, that bitch was batshit crazy. You ended up letting her go to someone else, let her be somebody else's problem, despite the fact that you still found her physically attractive. Men, you ever had that situation? All right, some of you are dating some of those girls right now. Women, you ever been in a situation where you saw a man and he was cute, attractive, you were interested in him, and if he walked up to talk to you, you would welcome his conversation, and he did, and you started talking to him, and then you found out something or some things, whether right there on the spot or later on, about that man that made you say, even though this man is still physically attractive the way I saw him, this is not a long-term solution for me. Has any of you ever had that happen? Of course, we all have. What changed? The energy. The energy either that person was giving off and or the energy you had about that person changed, was led to you making a different decision. So it's not because the product's not good, not because the person is not good, not because whatever you're selling is not good. You got to remember, folks, seduction is an energetic exchange. Seduction is not just about what do you have? Does it logically make sense? Okay, I'll buy. If it was that simple, then a lot of things in life would be different, especially in the business world. It's an energetic exchange. So a certain amount, this is you as a salesperson, as a professional, your certainty, your confidence, your tone, your charisma, your ability to connect, all of these play a bigger role than the objective and logical elements of who or what you are and or what your product is. You get the energetic side right, your product doesn't have to be that amazing. Your product should be great, but it doesn't have to be amazing if you get the energetic side right. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is seduction is a business skill. Number 3, the best closers in the sales world never have to actually close. Let me explain what I mean by that, because I'm speaking metaphorically here. When I say close in selling, any of you who works in sales, you understand this, but there's a lot of people who have not, so they may not understand it. Closing in sales is the moment in the sales process when you actually make the offer, verbally make the offer to the person you're selling to, your prospect. Here's what we have. Here's what it would take to get it, i.e. you're telling them what the investment is, what the price is. And the conversation that happens between the time that you say that and the time that the conversation is over, that's the close. Whether the conversation ends with them buying or not buying or something in between, maybe there's a later on, maybe there's a down payment, maybe there's something, whatever it is, that's the close. The close is just that part of the sales conversation. The best closers don't have to spend a lot of time in the close. Do you understand? And let me explain even further what I mean by that. The best closers close the deal before they get to the close. So they don't have to spend a whole lot of time in the close. So if any of you's ever read any books or done any trainings or been trained on closing and sales, you know the majority of the material about closing sales is all about, well, how do you say it? How do you present it? And mostly it's about handling objections. What is handling objections? Handling objections is taking all the reasons that a prospect may throw at you as to why they cannot or will not buy, and you being prepared to respond to those reasons so that you can possibly still influence and or persuade them to buy anyway, even though they just gave you a reason why they wouldn't buy. That's what handling objections is. The majority of the time spent in the close in sales is on this concept of handling objections. What I'm saying to you is, if you're a really good closer, you don't actually have to spend much time doing any of that. Why? Because all the closing material that you may have needed to use at the end during the close, you already got all of that stuff out of the way before you even got there. So the close is actually pretty easy and pretty simple. Close shouldn't take you a whole lot of time. You shouldn't be in the close for an hour in a sales conversation. You're spending an hour in the close in a sales conversation. That is only because you did not do your homework properly, i.e. the pre-conversation before the actual sales conversation, and however you handle the sales conversation, you didn't take care of all the things that you end up having to take care of at the end in the close. All the time you spend in the close, you're handling things that you should have handled before you got to the close. That's why I say the best closers don't actually have to close. So that's what I mean by that, metaphorically speaking. In sales, we call people who are consistent sellers, who do more sales than most of the people around them, they get called rainmakers because they make the money rain, or they get called closers because they're the people who close a lot of sales. And again, a closer is a term that is usually referred to a person, usually put on a person who is really good at persuading people to complete a deal that they otherwise maybe wouldn't have closed. In other words, closers are people who sometimes is referred to this colloquially as a person who can turn a no into a yes. Now, that's often what people are talking about when they say someone's a closer. The reality is, as I already explained, true closers don't have to do a whole lot of closing. A true closer does not have to do a whole lot of closing. If someone is out in let's say the dating space, doing your thing, you're out talking to girls, say you're a man talking to girls. Excuse me. If you're really good the way you present yourself and the way that you sell, quote unquote, yourself to the women that you meet, you don't have to do a whole lot of convincing to get that woman to give you her phone number, or to say yes to going out on a date, or depending on what you're aiming for, to come home with you that night. Right? You don't have to do a lot of convincing at that point. By the time you tell her, give me your phone number, or let's have a date, or come with me, let's leave this bar, everything that she could possibly say that would cause her to say no, or think that would cause her to say no, you already handled that before then. So by the time you ask, you already know the answer is yes. You're not even really asking, you're directing. Good closers, this is what they do. We do. So the close is happening throughout the conversation. Okay. And I'm saying, I want y'all to understand everything I'm talking about here. I'm talking about sales and I'm talking about dating. They apply directly the exact same way. A handshake agreement, a signed contract, an exchange of money. All that is a tangible validation of a close that has already occurred. The close didn't just happen then. If you're in sales and you're doing your job well, the deal is often done before the conversation even starts. Conversation is simply a formality. And in business, you need formalities. There's a reason why we have contracts, agreements, things get written down, et cetera, et cetera. All you have to do is not fumble the ball. That's all you got to do. Just don't drop the ball. In sales, as in dating, you are not moving people to do things that they don't want to do. That is not the purpose of selling. That is not the purpose of closing. That could land you, especially in the dating world, that can land you in a courtroom or a jail cell if you're doing that in dating. Instead, you are guiding people along the path that they already want to go on. They just need an expert, a professional, that would be you, to guide them through from where they are to where they want to go. They just needed somebody to help them get there. Now, they already know they want to go there. You're just a tour guide. There's a book called The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. Any of you who's in sales, any of you who's a professional in business, if you have not read that book, I suggest you go get that book and read it. And while the book is framed around and uses the canvas of the dating world, I want you to read that book thinking about how it applies to the sales world, because it applies directly. Let's recap today's class, which is seduction is a business skill. Definition of seduction is attractive, offering, and tempting. Number one, every sale is a courtship. There is a process that takes place for a sale to happen. Some sales take 90 days, some sales take 9 minutes, some sales take 30 seconds, but there is always a process that goes on. You as a salesperson needs to know what your process is. You need to know your process so that you know you're bringing people through it properly. Some take longer, some take shorter, but everyone goes through it. Number two, people buy energy more than they buy products. It's the energy that they will get because they have the product is the reason they buy it. People don't go to Starbucks because they want the coffee. They go to Starbucks because how they're going to feel when they drink the coffee. They go to Starbucks because how they feel when they're sitting in the coffee shop with their friends and watching people walk by out of the big window. And this is just part of their daily routine. That's what people are buying. They're not buying the thing. They're buying the energy that comes with the thing. This applies to services and physical products. Number 3, the best closers never have to close because they've already done all the closing in the lead up to the close. The moment when they ask for the sale or they basically assume the sale, they've already done all the closing already. So there is nothing to object to because all the objections have already been addressed. Good closers have already done all the work before they get to that point. They did their homework. If you did not hear the episode where I talked about doing your homework, that was episode number 2956. I did a 3-part series on the different ways to do your homework, and episode 1925 where I talked about the concept of doing your homework. So if you haven't caught those, do your homework and catch up. WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. Work with me directly, have me as your direct coach, get into our programs, get our courses, get into our group programs, work with me one-on-one. We got plenty of options. WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all